midnight in the American countryside. The moon hangs low, casting pale silver across. Endless rows of corn and sugarcane. All is quiet. Families sleep, tractors rest, and the fields stand ready for harvest. Then, without warning, the silence breaks. Not thunder, not machinery. A deep rumble rolls through the night. Something heavier, something alive. The ground trembles as shadows surge forward, moving at nearly 30 miles an hour. By morning, months of work will be erased. Crops flattened, irrigation ripped apart, livestock gone. This isn't a storm. This isn't a wildfire. It's something far more personal, an invasion. The invaders? Not soldiers, not machines, but wild hybrids known as javaporcos. Monstrous crossbreeds, stronger, faster, and smarter than anything farmers have ever faced. And the defense? Not electric fences, not rifles, not high-tech traps. Just a shovel. A simple tool that dug trenches around fields, changing the battle forever. But to understand why this worked, you must first meet the enemy. The real terror on American farmlands today isn't what most people expect. It walks on 4 legs, weighs 300 pounds, hybrid of European wild boars and domestic pigs. A genetic accident turned into a farmer's nightmare. These creatures combine the brute strength of boars with the cunning of pigs. The result? Bulldozers with brains. They don't travel alone. Herds number from 20 to more than 100. Under cover of night, they emerge from woodlands like dark armies, storming farmland with one goal: consume and destroy. Crops vanish overnight. Sugarcane is uprooted. Corn stalks flattened. Irrigation pipes, worth thousands, crushed beneath their hooves. But the worst part? They remember. Once a field is raided, they come back. Again and again, teaching their young the safest paths, learning how to outsmart every barrier. And their appetite doesn't stop at plants. Chickens, ducks, even calves. Nothing is safe if they're omnivores. Relentless and merciless, more than destroyers. They're carriers of disease. Leptospirosis, hepatitis E, African, swine fever. Illnesses spread through soil, water, even the air. One herd, one night, and an entire season's worth of harvest can disappear. So surely. Modern technology must have a solution, right? Not even close. When technology fails, farmers fought back with everything science could offer. First came electric fences, high-powered systems designed to stop predators. They stretched out 4 miles, costing thousands per farm. But the javaporcos weren't fooled. Some chewed through the power sources. Others used sticks or branches to test the current. Once the power was down, the flood began. Then came steel traps, elaborate cages, pitfalls with mechanical triggers. But traps catch only a handful. The rest escape. Worse still, trapped pigs squeal warnings, teaching their herds to avoid danger for weeks. Some scouts even sacrificed themselves, triggering traps so others could pass safely. And then, firearms. Hunters tried, farmers tried, but try hitting 100 fast-moving animals in pitch-black forest and thick fog. The herds multiplied faster than bullets could stop them. And for many, laws and environmental restrictions made constant hunting impossible. Technology failed. Money drained. Futures crumbled. Farmers grew desperate. Some wondered, maybe it's time to give up. But one farmer asked a different question. Instead of trying to fight the pigs head-on, what if he just stopped them from ever entering? One farmer, 58 years old, steady hands, stubborn heart, made a choice that no one expected. He didn't reach for a gun. He didn't call in experts. He didn't buy high-tech gadgets or sensors, but he called an excavator. Yes, an excavator. With its steel arm biting into the ground. He carved trenches, 5 feet deep, 3 feet wide. Walls so straight they looked like walls of a fortress. The sound of the machine roared across the fields, metal grinding, earth cracking, dust rising. It was raw, it was loud, and to many watching, it looked ridiculous. But the result? It worked. The pigs came as always, charging, rooting, relentless, and then they stopped. The trenches were too wide to leap, too steep to climb, too deep to risk. Within weeks, damage to the crops collapsed by 90%. Within months, it was gone altogether. Neighbors noticed. At first they smirked, then they leaned closer. Soon, curiosity turned into action. Farmers began pooling their money to rent excavators. Cooperatives formed. Machines lined up in the dawn light, digging side by side, cutting barriers that wrapped entire farms, then entire villages. Then, entire regions. IT spread like wildfire, not through satellites or screens, but through the ground itself. A movement of dirt, sweat, and stubborn hope. For the first time in years, farmers had a weapon, and it wasn't high-tech. It was earth, but then came the price. Before we reveal what happened next, let's hear from you. If this story has your attention, type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your feedback helps us know if stories of human ingenuity like this matter to you. Because what happened next was nothing short of revolutionary. And it began with the simplest tool imaginable. Digging trenches wasn't cheap. A single farm needed miles of them, costing $30,000 to $100,000. Then came the rains. Trenches filled, turning into mud pits and mosquito swarms. Rocky soil demanded drilling rigs. Soft soil required concrete reinforcements. And the dangers didn't stop at money. Tractors toppled in, equipment destroyed, drivers injured, children faced drowning risks. Emergency vehicles struggled to reach farms. Maria Santos knew the pain firsthand. Her teenage son drove their small tractor near the trench. On a foggy morning, he didn't see the edge. The tractor plunged in. His arm shattered. $15,000 gone. Trenches worked, but at a price. Lawsuits followed as redirected rainwater eroded neighbors. Lands, wildlife fell victim. Maintenance was constant, removing debris, cutting vegetation, redigging after floods. It was a nightmare, and yet they worked. The revolution. Farmers realized trenches weren't just barriers. They were strategy. Neighbors connected their trenches, creating networks that funneled herds away from entire districts. Costs were shared. Maintenance rotated. Early warning systems spread like wildfire. Farmers became strategists, mapping aerial photos, studying movement like generals, designing farms not just for crops, but for defense. The shovel had sparked a revolution, a new way of thinking, a community bonded not by desperation, but by defense. And so, despite the cost, despite the risks, trenches became more than just scars in the earth. They became walls of hope. Farmers who once walked their fields with dread now walked them with pride. At night, instead of lying awake to the sound of squeals and crashing stalks, they slept in silence. The endless rumble of hooves was gone. The raids that once destroyed entire seasons of work were halted at the edge of the dirt. For the first time in years, families woke to fields still standing, crops still growing, and livestock still safe. The trenches worked, and they worked brilliantly. Entire herds, weighing thousands of pounds in total, barreled out of the woodlands as they always had. But when they reached the trench, the momentum stopped cold. The boars paced, tested, tried to leap, tried to root, but the walls were too steep, too wide, too deep. They turned back, frustrated, and the fields behind those barriers stood untouched. Word spread quickly, faster than the animals themselves. Farmers who had once laughed at the idea of using dirt as a weapon began to share their own stories of success. One community reported saving more than 70% of their harvest within the first year. Others claimed even higher. Entire chicken coops remained unharmed, corn stood tall, and sugarcane no longer fell like dominoes in the night. What began as one man's stubborn idea had grown into a movement of survival. And for many, this victory was about more than just economics. Yes, millions of dollars in crops were saved. Today, when you enjoy a simple ear of corn, a slice of sugarcane, or a loaf of bread, you're eating food protected not by billion-dollar technology, but by trenches, by invaders, by determination. Farmers didn't dig because they loved it. They dug because surrender wasn't an option, because families depended on it, because survival demanded it. And that's the lesson. When modern systems collapse, simple solutions endure. When technology fails, human creativity finds a way. Oh, here's our final question to you. Have you ever faced an impossible problem and solved it with something simple? Share your story in the comments. If you believe in stories of resilience, of human ingenuity, of real people solving real problems, hit subscribe. Every subscription helps us keep telling these hidden tales. Thank you for watching. Thank you for standing with the farmers. Here's to full harvests, safe nights, and the power of an invader.